and welcome everyone to today's webinar. The topic I'm going to talk about in the next 25 minutes is called SAP Field Service Management, the latest release 2311, which was released in November. My name is Bernhard Weiersmüller, and I'm very happy to present this webinar to you for the next 25 minutes. As always, the webinar will be recorded and you will find the recording on our YouTube channels later on. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, I would really advise you to do so because there's lots of other videos to be found around many other topics as well. I want to start with today's agenda. What's new in version 2311? I have picked the following features to present to you today. First, we will see two new features in the planning board area. That's some enhancements with the modal UI and planning with skill levels. Next is the time and material journal, where you can store the settings. Then we go on to the new service map and continue over to smart forms, where we have two new interesting features around equipment and multiple option selection. Towards the end, we want to quickly talk a little bit about automating scheduling and how to get started. And at the end, the last topic will be a new feature in admin, central configuration management. Let's dive into the first new feature, the planning board. There are some modal UI enhancements. Well, what is the modal UI? The modal UI was introduced recently to show service call details, but also, for example, activity details in like a pop-up screen. You can see it on the right-hand side as an example. Well, what is new? New is that you can now have a refresh option where you can immediately refresh just that specific screen, which was not there before. And then we also have the option to attach many files in one go via drag and drop. So let us dive into the product and show this feature a little bit more in detail. I'm now in the planning board and I'm going to select one of my service calls here in the list. I'm going to take this one here. And the first option I want to talk about is the refresh option. So in the past, when you wanted to refresh this screen because there were some changes somewhere else, you couldn't do it except pressing the refresh button of the browser, but it will drop you out of that screen and you have to go back. So now there is a better option. If you click on the three dots, refresh, and then it will just refresh this specific screen. You can do the same if you go on activities level and you click on an activity, there is the same option, refresh, available. Then there were some improvements done with the attachments. So if I click on attachments, I can still add attachments with the add button here on the right, but, and that is not so obvious, I can also do drag and drop. Let's show that now. So here on the left is my attachment section, and on the right I have some attachments I want to add. I just select multiple of those, drag and drop, and already they have been attached to the activity or the service call. So that is the new features in the modal UI. I think both are very welcome. Let us continue with our next topic. Again, in the planning board, we have some news for you, and that is the planning with so-called skill levels. In the past, you could already use skills to do skill matching and then use, for example, the find matching algorithm. The planning board would also check if your skills match your technician's skills. Now, this has been enhanced with skill levels. You can introduce skill levels, which was already done in one of the last releases, but now you can also use them for your planning. First, you will have to turn this new setting on in the settings, and I'm gonna show you that. You go to settings and configuration, and then you are in the general settings here, and on the right hand side below UI settings you will see a checkbox which is called enable advanced skill flow. You have to enable that one and then click the Save button up here for the setting to become active. When you then go back to the planning and dispatching, this feature has now been activated. Well, what is now the new part? The new part is that you can now use it to plan with skill levels. You need to first have the skill levels created. They are called scales. I'm going to show that in a moment. When you add skill levels to a skill, then a higher number of the skill level counts towards a higher level. And higher levels always include the lower levels. So that means if your technician has level 5 and the activity requires level 4, then it will be okay. The other way around, it will not be okay. If the technician has level 4, but the activity requires level 5, it will prevent you from planning it to that person. Again, you first need to create so-called scales. I'm going to show that in the product. Again, I'm going into the settings and configuration, and then on the left-hand side below master data, there is the option called scales. I'm going to open now the scales, and I've already created one scale which I called skill scale. And you can then add levels like I have already done here and add a name or a description to it. The name is completely, has no meaning to the system, it's just text. On the other hand, the level is important because the level defines how high, let's say how highly rated the skill is. Level 1 is like the beginner's level, and the higher number says that this is a higher level which requires more knowledge. In this case, I have created these 5 levels. Now, if I go back to the planning, and I have created already a service call, and I added an activity, and then I added the skill to the activity. The skill I used was X100. And in this case, if I'm going to access this activity and I give it to Christian, who has the X100 skill, but in a lower level, it will tell me, okay, the skill level does not match. My technician currently has skill level 3, beginner, and it is required level 4. So that means he cannot actually do the job. Okay. What is it that is a little bit missing in this area? There is some room for improvement, I would say. For example, that the levels, the skill levels, are not consistently visible. For example, on the activity details or on the technician mouse over, it does not properly work. The operation should be a bit more intuitive. When you move around levels, you can't do that. And assigning skills to technician is also a little bit not so intuitive. Let me show you what I mean by that. For example, if you look at Christian, the technician, he has the skill level X100, but you don't see any level. The same goes if I click on an activity and then I look at the right-hand side, then I will also see, if I go to the skills down here, I can see this X100 skill, but again, I don't see any levels. Furthermore, if you want to edit the skills scales in the settings and configuration, master data scales, as I have shown before, what is also a bit lacking, I find, is that you can't move around the levels. You will have to just delete them or rename them, but you can't move levels around. Let's hope for SAP to take this up and fix this with one of the next releases. Now let's continue to the time and material journal, and we are going to talk about the settings. In the past, you still already could do some changes to the columns, to the sorting, to the filtering, but whenever you left the screen and came back, it went back to the default setting, which was a little bit a bad thing, and this has now been corrected. So if we are going to see it in the product, let me go to the planning and dispatching, time and material journal. And now I'm going to open it and I'm going to change a little bit on the settings. So in this case, I'm going to move the customer to the front like that. And if I now go back to the dispatching board, just to get out of that screen, and then go back to that screen again, to the time and material journal screen again, like this. Then you can see my sorting, or let's say my column setup, is still the same. I think this is very welcome add-on. Let's continue to the map, the new service map. I think you already have seen and used maybe the new map, the new service map. It was until now in preview mode, and now the big news is it became generally available. That means it is now the default setting, the default map. If you want to go back to the old map, you can still do so, but not for long. It will be shut down with the 2402 release. If you still want to go to the old map, you can do so with a setting which I'm going to show you now. Again, we are going to the settings and configuration option, and then on the left here below the general settings, you will see the option called map, and that one then will enable you to toggle between the different maps, the new one and the old one. You will see the setting here. You can turn this off to go back to the old map, but again, only until the February release from next year. If you haven't seen or used the new map, I would advise you to give it a go, because it is very nice. And it allows you to, for example, display routes of your technicians, but it also allows you to directly plan in the map. It means you can drag and drop one of the jobs, for example, from here to the sidebar of your technician and plan it from there. Although I can see some room for improvements. I'm going to show you what I mean. So I will now open the service map from the planning board, click on the service map, and it will give me the new service map. On the right-hand side, you can see the different objects like technicians or activities. If you click on activities, it gives you a list of activities. Whenever you zoom into the map, also your list on the right-hand side will zoom with it. And if you click on it, this green icon means it's a cluster, multiple activities in the same place. You can see the blue one is one which I could use to be planned. It's still unassigned to a technician. You click on it to check what it is, because that's what you have to do. Then it's a bit cumbersome to plan. You can do it, but not perfect, I would say. You go to overview, you select your technician, you look at his day, time, schedule, and then you need to memorize which of the activities it was, and then you can plan it over here. Okay, it works, but not the best solution in my opinion. Also, another problem I can see is if you have more than 9 activities in the same place, it will be problematic because only 9 can be shown at one given time currently. Yeah, these little things, I'm hoping that SAP is going to polish them and have better options with one of the next releases. Then I also told you about how to show routes in the map. That is also something which I think is a good feature, and you can do that when you do a right click on a technician. It only works for 1 or 2 days, so you first have to select 1 or 2 days up here, and then we want to see the map route of George, for example. You click on view route, and then it opens a tab and it shows you the routing for the given day for my technician George. You can even see the details of the route here. All right, that's it for the map. Now let's go back to the next option here, and that is something about smart forms. In smart forms or checklists, you can now have an equipment picker, and you can pick an equipment using a QR code or a barcode. Both of them will work. The idea is that you can select it just using the camera, which will be much faster than typing it in. Certainly the serial number must be maintained, and you can use a so-called picker element in the smart form of type equipment. Let's now show that on my mobile app so that you get an idea how this will look like in real life. I'm going to show the mobile app, and now I will open up a smart form with the plus, go into my templates folder. I select the one at the last position, in this case, this one here. I'm going to open it. I'm going to select an activity where I will link it to, save it, and now it opens up. And if I scroll down, I can now see this option here, select the equipment, and I will then have to click on this icon to start the scanner. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, scanner started. Now I have some big machine here, and if I go with the scanner, you see it's very fast and it picks immediately up the right equipment. In the smart forms area, it is done like follows. I will open the smart form designer to show you how this element looks like. It's very easy to do. I will open the smart form in edit mode, and then I'm going to show it to you. Hopefully. Let's see. Okay, here is my design. And then I have this select equipment here. It is a picker element. So you select the picker element, you drag it into your design, you edit, and you will then select the object type equipment. All right. Let's go to the next feature, and again, that is a smart form feature. Finally, you can have multiple selection of options available in the smart forms. Again, this is only available with the next February release on mobile. Currently, you can use it on the web. So if you open a smart form on the web, you can use it, but on mobile only in February. I'm going to also show that in the product itself. So up here, I have a drop-down selected, and whenever I edit the drop-down, you can see there is multiple options which I added, and here the allow multiple. You can see it web only, mobile planned for 2402 release. So you need to select this checkbox. All right, then I'm going to go to the next feature. Automatic scheduling. Well, what is automatic scheduling? If you have never heard it, you can use it to fully automate your planning if you want to. And it is a very complex topic. And it's a good thing that SAP now provides video tutorials to get started with automatic scheduling. And I strongly advise you to watch these videos before you dive further into the automatic scheduling world. I have put the link here. It's in the help portal of SAP. When you open it, you will get a list of some video tutorials. For example, the introduction to AI-based scheduling. What about reports, which will define why a certain technician has been, let's say, selected, and also about policies and policy designer. By the way, if you want to use policies, your own policies, make sure you have an extra license, because it's not there by default. It's extra what you need to get. If you're interested in that, you can let us know. This leads me to my last topic for today, and that's the central configuration management in admin. In the past, you were already able to transfer objects like custom fields, company settings, business rules, screen configuration, service workflows, and others from one company to another. But it was cumbersome because you had to download a file, upload a file, make sure it's the right file, and you could only do it from one company to another company at once. These problems have been now eliminated by SAP with the central configuration management. Now you can just have a source, which can be file or a company, and then you select whatever you want to transfer to your other companies, and then you select your destinations, which can be one or multiple companies in parallel, and then you can just confirm, and it will transfer the objects to all the selected companies at once. So I think this is a very nice addition to the administration, and it gives you good opportunities, for example, for testing, and provides you with probably less problems. Let's go for the administration, and then let me move away. On the left, I'm logged into my account. I'm on account level, and scrolling down gives you here the central configuration management at the bottom. When you open it up, then you shouldn't get an error. Sorry about that. Let me quickly move in. So whenever you are on account level, you click on central configuration management, and then you can look at the source selection. So finish. So let's click on start. You have the source selection, which you can select a company, or you can upload a file from another company. You confirm, and now you select, okay, what do you want to do? I want to select some business rule, maybe this one here, maybe this one here, and maybe some company settings, maybe this one here, and then you want to transfer it. So we click on confirm, and now you select the destination company. You can also select all the other companies to transfer it to all companies in your system at once. Then you click on confirm. Now you select the target, means whatever you want. In this case, I want the business rules, the company settings. You can see what's going to happen. In this case, this business rule is already there. This one is missing, so it will transfer that. This setting is also already there, and then you can confirm, and it will finalize it. Confirm, and now it will transfer that information to the destination companies. It'll take a few seconds, and then after that it is finished. You also get a nice report, what happened, and if there were errors, if you click on errors, you can see if everything went well or not. Perfect. That is the end of today's webinar, and I'm going to stop here. Thank you very much for attending this, and I wish you a nice evening. Goodbye, everyone.